Firstly, I am delighted to announce that today, production on my second series of Doctor Who figure adventures has begun. You may know that I prefer to refer to my series with an overall title instead of a number to avoid numbering confusion. This year's set of episodes will be under the name The Quest for Skovox. As the name suggests, the Skovox Blitzer will be playing a big part in the series, although I can't really reveal any more details at this stage. The Quest for Skovox will be produced months in advance, hence why I'm starting today. I'm really glad to be working on this project and can't wait to show you the final outcome. The first instalment of The Quest for Skovox was released just 2 weeks ago, and is already one of my most successful figure adventures of all time. I'll be giving you a behind-the-scenes look at the making of Dying of the Light in this video, and answering your questions about the story. Towards the end of this video, I'll also be revealing the winners of my DVD giveaway, so stay tuned. The first draft script for this episode was written too long ago for me to remember. However, my computer seems to think it was created in late spring last year. One thing I do remember about the production of this story, however, is that once the second draft was completed, I accidentally saved over the file, meaning I had to go back and rewrite the whole story based on the initial version of the script. Despite this, a second draft was finished by the start of the summer and was modified into a third draft by November. As usual, the copy of the script I used during filming was edited by hand in places. However, these were only minor edits to some dialogue. The TARDIS set was constructed in the summer holidays. To find out more about how I made this set, watch my video Building the TARDIS from August. The spaceship set was also created in the summer, although filming didn't properly commence until October. Before this, short sequences were filmed on the TARDIS, and the alien landscape I used for my Mission Dalek entry. Filming on the episode wrapped at the start of November, leaving just enough time for me to turn my attention to Genesis of the Cybermen. As with Genesis, most scenes were edited once they had been filmed. Most material was edited before our computer broke in early November. However, some scenes had to wait until December to be finished off. 4 guest voice actors were required for the story, with the 12th Doctor and Oswald played by myself, as usual. The main guest actress was Jessica Osborne, who kindly provided the voice of the Nightmare Child. Type 40FA played both Stanley and the Skovox Blitzer very briefly. Emily Moran and Riley Cole made up the rest of the crew. The story was uploaded onto YouTube as a scheduled upload on the 26th of January, ready for release on the 30th. Genesis of the Cybermen was full of references to previous TV stories, and Dying of the Light was no different. In the first shot we see, the Doctor is wearing his famous orange spacesuit. However, what you may not know about this part of the image is that it is a composite, combining a 3.75-inch 12th Doctor head and Sanctuary Base 6 10th Doctor body. This is because a figure of the 12th Doctor in this costume wasn't available when filming began. The opening sequence is deliberately very similar to the pre-titles of Listen. This acclaimed episode was also one of my main inspirations for the story overall. Of course, the Skovox Blitzer made its debut in The Caretaker, with this story being its second appearance, albeit a brief one. Although named the Nightmare Child, the woman who blows the Skovox up is not, in fact, the same Time War creature that was referenced by the 10th Doctor. Likewise, the captain of the unnamed ship from this story is not Clara, but one of the Echoes, created on Trenzalore when she sacrificed herself to save the Doctor's life. One of the 12th Doctor's trademark phrases, "Shut up," is spoken many times in response to members of the crew, and his dislike of soldiers is still evident. Furthermore, his early departure halfway through is similar to what he did in Kill the Moon. Just like in the 2008 story Midnight, we never do find out what creature is haunting the ship. However, we do eventually see it at the end, despite it only coming out in the dark. This is a similar defense mechanism to the Weeping Angels, who only move when you blink, or Silence, who you forget about when you're not looking at them. Just like any good Moffat story, this episode ends with an unexpected and somewhat confusing cliffhanger. So now it's time to answer some of your questions about Dying of the Light. I've got lots more questions this time around, lots more, than for my previous Q&A, which only feels like yesterday's. It's only been a few weeks since I did that one. But anyway, yeah, I've got lots more questions. I think this is probably down to the added incentive of the DVD giveaway. because everybody that's left a question, of course, has been entered into the giveaway to win either Genesis of the Cybermen or Dying for Light on DVD. And I'll be revealing the winner of that at the end of the video, of course. But I think that's why I've got slightly more questions this time around. So that was a wise move, I think. And my first question is from Rebel Hoovian, and he says, when did you start to plan the series? And was this the first episode you wrote/planned? That is a good question, but I don't know, really. I usually start at the beginning. I mean, it's been so long, so long, since I started thinking about this series. You know, as soon as I got the Skovox Blitzer figure last year, actually, January last year, about a year ago, I saw it packaged with those 4 legs. I just thought that you know, I could do a quest series going around the universe to try and put the Skovox Blitzer back together. You know, 'cause it came in these 5 pieces, 4 legs and the body. Because for my last series of figure adventures, which wasn't very good, there wasn't really a story arc for that. You know, I read the first episode and just went on with the series, and then I got to the finale and I thought, oh, what am I going to do? So I wanted a better story arc for this series, and I thought to have something like the Skovox just there all the time, you know, like the kind of main focus, a bit like the Key to Time, you know, that kind of thing. Yeah, I thought I'd be missing a trick if I didn't take advantage of this figure and use it for that purpose. Yeah, I can't really remember much about the planning stages for this story. It wasn't always like this. I mean, I think originally I was going to have Doctor and Clara landing on like this planet, and there'd be colonists on the planet. It was going to be set on the battleground instead of a spaceship. Yeah, and I can't remember how it developed from there. I decided to scrap Clara, obviously, and include a Clara Echo instead. I'm not going to go into too much detail about that, because I don't want to spoil things from the rest of the series. But yeah, it just kind of happened, really. Cameron McGarrell asks, how long does it take to make an episode start to finish? Right. Well, I mentioned before in my Genesis of the Cybermen video, it was 2 weeks flat out for editing and filming and that kind of stuff. The script was a couple of months before that. With this, it's kind of spanned a 6-month period. You know, I originally wanted to get the series out last year, and then I realised that wasn't going to be possible. So I kind of aimed towards October, November, December. Then I thought I might as well save it for this year. You know, there's no point starting the series at the end of one year and going into the next year. You know, you might as well have it all in the same year, starting in January. You know, and just running over the course of the year. Yeah, but I mean, for this, I kind of struggled to get the motivation to start with. I scripted it, and then somehow I lost the script. I think I overwrote it with something else that I was doing, and another script I was doing. So I had to rewrite the whole script again, based on a previous draft I had. So that was slightly frustrating, yeah. I think the main spaceship set that was built last summer, but I never got around to filming in it until about October. Yeah, the TARDIS was also built in the summer. I think I did a couple of bits on that, maybe in August, September. Because of course the battleground with the Skovox Blitzer, that's my Mission Dalek thing, you know, the landscape from Mission Dalek. I reused that, so that was filmed after Mission Dalek. So for this one, it's kind of spanned. It's kind of spanned many months from last summer up until November, December, really. Yeah, most of the film on the spaceship set was done in October, half term. and then like over the last few months of 2015, I was just editing and finishing it off. Of course, then our computer broke in November, but luckily enough of the episode was edited for it not to be too much of a problem. Because when we got a new computer in December, after I'd worked on Genesis of the Cybermen, I only needed to edit a couple more scenes and record a couple more parts, I think it was. But yeah, it was practically done by the end of December last year. So it's kind of taken since summer until December, but I wasn't totally focused on this project from that time either. There were other things I was doing as well. Yes, so it's slightly weird with this one because I didn't do it all in one go. I did it in stages, and it's taken a really long time for no particular reason. And various people have asked me which episode did you enjoy the most to film and make and edit and all that kind of stuff, out of Genesis of the Cybermen or Dying of the Light. I'm not gonna lie here, because I filmed most of Dying of the Light before Genesis of the Cybermen. The quest for Skovox, the whole idea of this series, it was devised before I even thought about a Christmas special with the 10th Planet Cybermen. It just so happened that when I postponed the series until next year, I kind of thought, I've not really had any proper FA episodes in 2015. Because obviously I was finishing off my previous series with the finale in March, I think it was, but that wasn't anything special compared to how I am now with stop motion animation and Final Cut Pro, all these new techniques I've learnt over 2015, and I thought I might as well use those techniques to make a Christmas story if I could find the time, obviously. I won't go too much into Genesis of the Cybermen right now, but basically I stuck at Genesis of the Cybermen, and I felt more motivated to do that because I thought, it's the 12th Doctor and 10th Planet Cybermen. Lots of people are going to want to watch this. With the quest for Skovox, that's why I was a little unsure at the start, because I wasn't sure if people would like what I was doing. I wasn't sure if the script was going to, if it was going to be a good opener, because it is quite a weird script for an opener. It's like a base under siege story, and the crews die one by one. But basically they just all die, and the Doctor goes off at the end, and we still don't know what the creature is that's killed them. So it's a slightly kind of weird storyline for an opening story. But I definitely feel that the script for Genesis of the Cybermen, although it wasn't as long as this one, that script, I think it was more solid than the script for this story. And I kind of gave Genesis my all, because I had this time over Christmas to just give it my all, put everything I've got into it, and I wanted to make that one really special. So I think because I was more motivated to do Genesis, I enjoyed doing that one more. And I've also been asked, which one do I prefer? Which one am I most proud of? And again, I would at this stage definitely say Genesis of the Cybermen. Yeah, I'm basically really proud of that one. Obviously, once this series is finished, I'll probably think a bit more of it. But it's just at this stage, because I've only done the first episode of the series so far, and I filmed it before Genesis. In my eyes, it's not quite as good as Genesis of the Cybermen. Another question from lots of people: do you prefer working with 3.75 inch or 5 inch figures? I kind of talked a little bit about this in my previous Q&A. I was saying how I use 3.75 inch figures mostly because there are so many, because you get the odd character from the most recent series, Series 8, Series 9, you get the odd character in that range. At least you get more characters from the current series in that range than the 5.5-inch collector's series. You know, that's the main range. It's meant to be the, you know, retail range, meant to be sold everywhere. We all know it's not, but because that's kind of characters' main focus for the Doctor Who figures, and we get new figures from the series first in that line. I just thought to use 5-inch figures for something like the Quest for Skovox would be wrong, because I mean, at the stage when I was planning this series, I didn't know about the collector's series, and I will admit that, but there are still more figures from Series 8 in the 3.75-inch line, and I felt that particularly as I was going forward with you know, doing more episodes in the series, if the figures that I needed weren't released in the 5-inch line, then I'd be stuck. You know, the Skovox Blitzer, he's a 3.75-inch figure, so I mean that kind of dictated it from the start. And you know, some people would say use both ranges together, but that would look really tacky. I'm not a fan of that. You know, stick a 3.75-inch figure on a block of plastic, and you know, no, because they're completely different scales. I don't see any way of them being able to go together, really. But which one do I prefer working with? Well, obviously, you know, it's the 5-inch figures. I prefer them, just because they're bigger, more detailed, easier to kind of animate, so they're easier to move around. So yeah, I mean, if there were 5-inch, you know, 5-inch Skovox splits, so 5-inch 12th Doctor, 5-inch Clara from Time of the Doctor, and you know, if there were more 5-inch figures from the current series, like the Skovox Blitzer, then yeah, totally, I would definitely do this series in 5-inch. But the reason I don't is because we get more in 3.75-inch. But just because I do use a 3.75-inch, it doesn't mean that I don't like the 5-inch. You know, it's a brilliant line. I love the figures. They're so much more detailed, and it is a shame that I can't use them in this series. But you know, it's just the way it is. So. Doctor Who Master 892 asks, how did you get the idea for the episode? Yeah, I can't really remember, and it's just a bit of a vague, open kind of question. I mean, I do find it quite hard. I mean, I will be honest, I do find it quite hard to get proper ideas that I can use. It does take time, I think. To kind of think of storylines that would work, and also kind of reflect the quality of the TV episodes. So I think that's really important, that there is some kind of link between the stories that I make and the television series. You know, not just in continuity references, but also in the kind of the feel and the tone and the type of story that could work on TV. Yes, so I basically get all my inspiration from the TV series, really. I just, you know, and then I just kind of take that and think of my own ideas, and it does take a while. That's all I feel I can say for that, really. Whitepoint Star Productions asks, will you make any more 5-inch FAs? That kind of ties into the question before the last one. I would love to, really. But at the moment, obviously, I'll be focusing on this series. Maybe Christmas this year, if I get the chance. I'll definitely do another 5-inch special. Because yeah, as I've said already, how much I love them. So yes, I mean, if the right figures are available and the story is right for the range, then yeah, I'll definitely do more 5-inch figure adventures. And I've already kind of answered this, but he also asks, which episode took longer to create overall? Yeah, this one definitely, because it just did. I mean, looking back, I can't really think of a reason why it took so long, whereas Genesis of the Cybermen, I did that in 2 weeks. I can't really think of a good reason for that. You know, I had the summer holidays to start working on this project. But I mean, looking back, I think it was the motivation to just to do a series and to get it right. And B, also, I think I kind of doing figure scene recreations and the classic review series that I was also doing in the summer. I think I gave myself a little bit too much to do, but while still making a figure adventure series. Because I had more free time in the summer. But looking back, I probably should have not done 2 videos a week. I should probably have focused on this, really. Yes, I think that's probably why it took so long to create. Type 40FA asks, what's the best thing you ever filmed? Genesis of the Cybermen, definitely. He also asks, what episode did you enjoy the most from the quest for Skovox? Well, I've only filmed this one so far, actually. I've not done any of the others yet. I have thought about them, and I'm in the pre-production stages for episode 2 at the moment. But this is the only one that I've filmed, so I can't really answer that yet. So maybe if you ask me that one in a good few months' time, I can give you an answer. And his final question is, will you ever do an FA with David Tennant? The 10th Doctor, I used to like him quite a lot. He was my first Doctor. I started watching with Series 4 in 2008. I mean, actually looking back, he was so romantic and soppy, and that's not really what Doctor Who is about. Capaldi has kind of opened my eyes to that. The Doctor should be alien. He should be kind of rude. He shouldn't be very human. He should be quite distant. And just looking back at David Tennant in particular, that wasn't really what he was. It was so romantic all the time. Particularly with Rose, and then we had Martha as well. And after reconsidering what I think of him, I didn't like that much. But I mean, that's not to say I won't do a figure adventure with him at some point in the future. Probably not this year, but at some point, definitely I'd give it a go. I mean, he has already featured briefly in the finale of my previous series, The End of the Doctor. He's in that, obviously, with the 11th and 12th Doctors. I'm trying to think as well. I don't think there's anything else that he's been in. No, 'cause the only other time I've used him is for figure scene recreations. So yeah, it would be great to do a story with him, I guess, just by himself. If the story was right, then definitely I'd have a go at that. Hayden7257 asks, did you always make this channel for FA? Yes, basically. I will be going into this a little more in a video in April, I think it will be. Because, as some of you all know, 2 years ago this April, I met Peter Capaldi, Jenna Coleman, Mark Gatiss, while they were filming Robot of Sherwood, which was down in Cardiff at the time. And I don't want to go into too much detail about this now, because I'd quite like to make a video about it. 2 years on, this happened 2 years ago. Because I never have made a video about it on this channel, but there is a good reason for that. Because basically, meeting the production crew of Doctor Who that day sort of loosely inspired me to start YouTube. I was planning the anniversary season, which was my first series. I was planning that at the time we went to Cardiff. I was only going to show it to family and friends, or make it for my personal entertainment. But after that day, basically, the long and short of it is that I kind of went out, looked into YouTube, and I made these stories, and I put them onto YouTube. And that's basically how it started. So without going into too much detail about that event, because I want to save that for this video in April. That is how I started YouTube, and so yeah, I always did it for figure adventures. The various people have asked why I chose the Skovox splits for this series. Yeah, I've kind of answered that already, haven't I? But from a point of view of the programme and not from looking at a plastic figure and going, oh yeah, I could use this, I could split it up into different pieces in different locations. From the point of view of a viewer watching the programme, I thought it was a great design, the Skovox Blitzer. And it really annoys me when people say, oh, it was underused. It wasn't underused, really, because the story, The Caretaker, it's not one of my favourite stories, but I appreciate and respect the fact that the Skovox Blitzer was only there. He was only there to be the monster, really. The story wasn't about that. It was about Clara and Danny and the Doctor. So yeah, I suppose you could say that's underused. I mean, I would probably argue that I think he fit his purpose well. He did what he had to do. But nevertheless, I always thought it was a shame that we didn't get to see any more of the Skovox. So that combined with, looking at this figure and going, I could use this in a quest series. Is basically why I chose the Skovox Blitzer. Dalek Alpha asks, did you have any other ideas apart from the Skovox? No, not really. I've already mentioned how I don't think much of the first series of figure adventures I did. Compared to some of my figure scenery creations and Genesis and Dying for Light, it's not animated. There's horrible black bars at the side. The title sequence is really tedious. The special effects are awful. But while I do kind of acknowledge that series, I wanted to start Series 2, with a fresh start, really. And I never really had any other ideas apart from the Skovox. That was what kind of triggered me wanting to do another series of figure adventures. Obviously, I wanted to do a series with the 12th Doctor. He'd only cameoed in the end of the Doctor at that point. So yeah, I don't think I did have any other ideas for the series at that stage. It was always going to be the quest for Skovox. And Dalek Alpha also asks, would you ever consider doing adventures with other Doctors? Classics, maybe? Yes, I'd be all for that. As I said with the Tennant question, it's just about finding the time, because most of this year will be 12th Doctor stuff, so probably next year and the year after, I might be able to do stuff with other Doctors. But I think it's also important to have the right story. If you're going to use another Doctor, you don't just use a Doctor for the sake of it, really. I use the 12th Doctor mostly because I want to make adventures that could potentially fit into the TV series, but I wouldn't just go and make a video with John Pertwee for no particular reason. I'd have to have a good story, a good understanding of that Doctor's era, because that's the other thing. Obviously, I've seen much more New Who than Classic Who. I have been watching a lot more of it actually over the past few months, since I did the Classic Review series in the summer. So I do have a better understanding of some of the classic Doctors now, but still, unless there was a story that I thought, oh yeah, so-and-so Doctor could fit really well into this, I wouldn't just do it for the sake of it. But at the same time, it'll be really interesting to use some of those Doctors. The only ones I've not used on the channel so far are 1 to 7. I used 8 in a minisode in the summer. What was that called? Lone Warrior, was it? The Lone Warrior? Yeah, I've used him then, very briefly. It would be nice to use 8 again as well, I suppose. Particularly if I could get my hands on the Ninth Doctor variant, which is not in stock on Toys R Us, or any of the stores, which is really annoying. But yeah, if I could get my hands on one of them eventually, it would be nice to use him. I can't think of any classic Doctors in particular that I'd like to have a go at, really. I suppose Tom Baker, that would be a good one to do, wouldn't it? Yeah, I quite like Tom Baker. I like Patrick Troughton as well, and Sylvester McCoy. And obviously the first Doctor, the original, you might say. It would be great to do something with him. So yeah, I'm all for using classic Doctors. if the story is right for that Doctor. Dalek Cyber asks, what do you enjoy most about filming FAs? I don't know really. I mean, to be honest, of course I enjoy the process of making them, but I don't enjoy making and editing as much as kind of seeing the final product at the end, and the feedback you get, I really appreciate that. I definitely think that's the best part of the whole process. But actually making them themselves, I don't know really. I think when you're filming them, you just have to go out there and try and get some good stuff. And then when you're editing, it's nice when you're editing because you kind of can use that and can structure it and put it together. And if you got a really good shot or a good bit of animation, you get a really positive feeling from that. So I think I would probably argue that the further you get into production, the more motivated you become to get it finished, and the more you kind of want to just, get it finished. And I think it becomes more enjoyable as you get further on until it's the finished video, and then other people can enjoy it too, basically. Cyberleader1010 asks, which scene are you most proud of? That's a really interesting question, actually. A few months ago I would have said the first scene, the one where the 12th Doctor's in space and the Doctor, and he's flying about and explaining the Skovox blitzer. But I mean, actually looking back, it's not the best. It's one of the first bits I did for the story. So I'd probably say the second scene, maybe, with the Nightmare Child and the Skovox blitzer, or the fourth, the one where he's the 12th Doctor, the one where the Doctor's on the spaceship and he's kind of waking up and he's a bit concussed and unconscious and all that kind of stuff, and he's gradually blurring into view, and he's working out what's going on, and then he sees Clara before the audience sees Clara, and he's saying, no, I know you're a bit of a control freak, but this is really taking things out of hand. And we see Clara. I liked doing that bit, yeah. Maybe the final scene as well, because obviously that's when you get to see the baddie. The only time you get to see what's going on, and then of course the bit where Oswald dies. So yeah, either scene 2, 4, or the last one would probably be my favourite, yeah. Astor Productions asks, what do you find the most challenging process of FA making? Now I have kind of touched on this before, but definitely I think actually being motivated to do it can be difficult, at times, because you're making something and you're not entirely sure if people will like it or not. It's silly really, because I suppose, I've got 300 subscribers. They'll probably watch anything I put out, but at the same time you're never 100% sure, and that kind of, it can be quite off-putting, I think, if you're planning something. But also I think it's not really easy to think of a story idea, but once you've got the story idea, you can play with it in your head, you can refine it, and then you can script it, yeah, and then you actually have to kind of make the sets, film it, edit it, and that kind of, having the motivation to do that can be quite difficult as well. And also finding the time to do that, in a busy school term or holiday, that can be hard as well, I find. But as I said before, I think the process becomes more enjoyable as it starts to come together, as the episode starts to come together. Yes, I would definitely say it's more challenging. I think as you get further in production, you kind of get more relaxed about it, and it's all coming together, and it's a really positive feeling. And that's the only way I can describe it really. It is a funny one. That 2 Doctors 2000 asks a very good question. Is there only one Skovox blitzer, or multiple armies of them? Now obviously for this series I had to kind of take ownership of the Skovox blitzer, So what I say now, it's not canon within the TV show, you know, it wasn't established in the TV show, although it was kind of implied that there was more than one. However, for the purpose of my series, and this is just my opinion, I decided it would be best if there was just one Skovox split across time. Because obviously if there are lots of them, a Skovox being split across time, you know, it's not as special or interesting. And that's the only reason I've got, really, but as I say, that's only my opinion. But in other people's FAs, like UDW F1's The Time Station, there are actually lots of Skovox blitzers. So, you know, as I say, it's just my opinion, but I had to take ownership of the Skovox in order to do this series. I had to invent all this mythology behind the Skovox, just for the purpose of this series. So, yeah. Charlie Prue asks, do you have any advice for YouTubers who would like to do figure adventures? Yeah, quite a lot. The main thing I would say definitely is keep motivated, you know, and as long as you put all the effort you can into what you're doing, then there is no reason to really doubt that people will watch it and people will like it. You know, I say how my first series of figure adventures isn't great, and it's really cringy to watch with my high voice back then. But at the same time, you know, I was a different person then. I had different skills, a different voice, and for me, then, you know, I was putting all my effort into it, and that was the best I could do at the time. I think that's really important to kind of appreciate that idea. So yeah, I'd definitely say go for it, really. If you want to do figure adventures, go for it. Just put all your effort into it, and I'd say also try and improve all the time. Try and always kind of be the best you can and more. Because if you just use the same methods all the time, same techniques, then you won't progress, you won't go anywhere. And it can be difficult when there are kind of new things to learn. I think if you stick at it though, over time, you will develop and you will learn new skills, and the quality of what you do will improve. And I think that's definitely over the past year, comparing my first series to my second series, there is a difference in quality, and that's because, you know, I went out trying new things. I tried out animation, I tried cropping the photos so that they filled the screen instead of having those horrid black bars. You know, I looked for a better Dalek voice, but my first Dalek voice was horrid. You know, it didn't sound anything like a Dalek at all. It's things like that, you always have to kind of be looking for ways to improve, if that makes any sense. Shaggy Rogers asks, do you film a season all at once, or make one every month? First of all, I mean, yeah, I don't film it all at once. I couldn't film it all at once. That would be hell on earth, wouldn't it? I mean, it won't be a monthly thing, but certainly every couple of months, maybe. I'm planning to do one. I mean, with my first series, the plan was to do one every month. You know, there were things that got in the way of that schedule. You know, one of the most frustrating was my camera lens just stopped working, so I had to get that replaced. You know, a bit like how I've had my computer not working in November of last year. Yes, so there are always delays, and while it would be nice to make it all and have it ready, I think actually that it's not worth spending so many months making a series and then releasing it, you know, a year later. And I would argue that because, I mean, if I was to film the whole of the Quest for Skovox now, you know, over this year, and release it next year, you know, it's a series with the 12th Doctor and Clara, and most of the 12th Doctor figures are wearing Series 8 clothes. It will be really out of date, you know, and I always think it's best to try and get, you know, when you're making episodes set around TV series, I think it's best to try and get them out as close to the TV episodes they're linked to as possible, you know, as close to Series 8 or Series 9, if it's a 12th Doctor story, I would also say that if you're going to make all the episodes in one go, and then have a break and then release them all, by the time the final one has aired, the likelihood is that you've gained new skills since then. You know, you've learnt new things, and this is kind of what's happened with Dying of the Light. You know, I made most of that last year, filmed, edited, and then I decided to go off on a tangent and do Genesis of the Cybermen, and that is, in my opinion, as I've said, that's a better story, better written and better produced. I'm still very proud of Dying of the Light, but I'm more proud of Genesis of the Cybermen, and that's because I'd learned new skills. Because I'd already filmed Dying of the Light when I was filming Genesis of the Cybermen, so I'd learnt new skills for that story. But then, of course, I released that at Christmas before Dying of the Light, so I've been in a position where I've had 2 FAs to release, but I wanted to save Dying of the Light, the first episode of a new series, until this year. And because of that, I mean, it's not noticeable, the difference in quality, I don't think, between these 2 stories. But because of that, though, a story that I filmed in October ended up being released after a story I filmed in December. And it's a tricky position because, as I say, I think Genesis of the Cybermen is much better quality. And, you know, while it's nice to have 2 episodes to release within the space of a month, I'm not really a fan of doing stuff like this because, as I say, I've learnt new things since filming Dying of the Light. You know, and some of that was put to practice in Genesis of the Cybermen, and it's kind of like a tiny step down in quality. You know, you get 1 FA in December 2015, and then you get this in January 2016, and it's not that noticeable, I know, but I think you can kind of tell that this was filmed after Genesis, and that's why it's slightly less kind of, I don't know, it just feels different. So yeah, if that makes any sense, I would definitely say if you treat them as standalone stories, then there won't be a dip in quality. You know, it'll go up. There'll be an increase in quality as you develop through the series, and I think that's better than producing a series all at once. So yeah, if that makes any sense at all. My final question is from Dr. Hoovian, who says, how does your scripting process begin? Do you brainstorm or just go in head first? I have mentioned earlier on how it is difficult to form stories, I think, in your head. And, you know, particularly sometimes it takes a while to kind of fill the space, you know, on the script, because I like these to be about 20 to 30 pages long, and you have to kind of make the story fit, you know, 20 minutes, and it is difficult to do that sometimes. So yeah, I mean, the thing is, once I've got an idea in my head, I do need to kind of write it down, and once it's written down, I think then you can tell what's wrong with it, if anything, and then you can develop drafts. So yeah, I do sometimes use drafts. If I'm changing the script in such a big way, then I kind of want to have the earlier draft as a backup almost, or also just, you know, because it's nice to have drafts, I think, to show how the story's developed. I would definitely kind of think about it first and then start drafting and just kind of refining the idea as much as possible, until you get something that you're really happy with. Now, I was planning to record the winners of my DVD giveaway being picked out the hat. However, I've been having some problems with my camera and it doesn't want to record much video at all. It keeps filling up really quickly, the memory card. So I'm not sure what's going on with that. But I'm just going to have to tell you the winners instead. And I know it might seem like I've picked the winners deliberately, because obviously you can't see me do it there and then. But I can honestly say there's been no bias. You know, it was a random... You know, I'd picked 2 random names out of a box, and they're the people that have won. Because obviously, even if my camera was working, it's not the kind of thing you can re-record, because it's totally random. Anyway, without any further ado, the winner of the Genesis of the Cybermen DVD is The Doctor's Assistant 1, and the winner of the Dying of the Light DVD is Asta Productions. So I will be contacting you at some point over this weekend, probably. But basically, I'll just need a postal address from both of you. Congratulations, and I'll be sending the DVDs over within the next week, probably. Obviously, with this one, the Dying of the Light DVD, the Q&A is actually meant to be a special feature, so it's going to take a little longer to get that one done. Because obviously, with the Genesis one, I've done a prototype already, and it's already finished, both discs, you know. But with this one, I've only got the one disc prototype so far, so I will have to burn this Q&A onto the second disc before I send it. So Asta Productions, you have to bear with me for that one. But anyway, congratulations again to the winners. Thanks to everyone that entered and left a question. I think this has been really successful, actually, and I think for future Q&As, for every figure adventure that I do, I think the same rules will apply. You know, leave a comment, and there's a chance that you can win this episode on DVD. I think that's a good incentive, I think. So, I guess that's the end of the video. Thank you for everyone that's watched this video, and also everyone that's watched Dying of the Light. You know, it's already got like 250 views or something in 2 weeks, which is mental, so thank you very much. The next episode is co-written by myself and White Point Star Productions, and it's currently in the pre-production stage at the moment. We've got the script just about there, and hopefully in this next week's holiday, I'll be able to start filming that one. But I wouldn't hold your breath for that one anytime soon. Obviously, these releases now, they're not going to be monthly, because I'm going to have exams coming up in the summer. But I'm going to try and get all of these 6 episodes, I've done one now, so the other 5 episodes in the series, I'm going to try and get them out over the course of this year at some point. Even if that means holding back, you know, half the series until my exams are over in the summer. I still want to get the whole series out over the course of this year, because it's been going on for ages now. You know, I've been playing this series since last summer, and I just need to kind of get on with it now, I think. So yeah, expect that hopefully in March, maybe. Yeah, I think probably towards the end of March that episode will be done by then. But I'll also have the return, the long-awaited return, of Doctor Who figure scene recreations very soon. That's a very popular series that I used to do on this channel last year, and then midway through doing it, you know, a fortnightly schedule, midway through doing that, my computer broke, so yeah, I couldn't do them then, and then by the time we got a new computer, I just needed to devote all my time to Genesis of the Cybermen, so they have been postponed. I think there's three, 4 more maybe coming. It'll be on a monthly basis, or every few weeks there should be one coming, but obviously this series now, this is the priority, so you'll see the remaining figure scene recreations when you see them. I should have one with Asylum of the Daleks with Oswin the Dalek coming next week, hopefully. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you next week for a new figure scene recreation.